Hello, Bella. How are you? Hey, Jules. Samantha Sanderson. We've been wondering about you. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Well, happy to see you anytime, Elena. Really excited to have you on the show. Well, I hate to say this, but I hope everyone had a good summer. I mean, I guess it's kind of in the past tense, but hello, Jules. I was not goofing off the whole summer. I wasn't resting and relaxing. I was working, and I was spending a lot of time thinking about how to make this all better, how to really continue to raise the level of education in aesthetic medicine, because I'll point out to you a number of examples that kind of stirred this up in my brain over the past few weeks. But I saw numerous examples of people just failing in this space. And I thought, how do I help them? How do I fill the gaps? How do I make this a more comprehensive program and educational experience so that we can all benefit? And it's not easy. I mean, there's so many pitfalls. But anyway, we'll get to that in a second. I just hope everyone enjoyed the summer and took a couple deep breaths and relaxed. You know, July and August were kind of slow for most people. And now, summer is over for the most part. I mean, hopefully we'll have a few more wonderful days of warmth and sunshine and a little rain. Actually, we do need a little rain. But September's here. Everyone's gearing up. And it's time to, sort of buckle back down. And I hope we're all prepared for that. What's wrong with live? Nothing. Can you guys hear me? Is there a problem hearing me? Turn that up a little bit. If you can't hear me, just let me know. I'll wait back. So, one of the things that hit me recently was watching people training. And again, we've been, Jules Botox is like signed on 5 times. Excellent. Now I can, okay, I guess I must have had the volume down. I apologize for that. But I was just basically saying that I haven't been goofing off all summer. I've been looking for ways of improving education in the aesthetic space and helping all of you. Hey, Mode Austin. It's been a while, but thanks for joining. He's part of my regular posse that usually hooks up and talks about some interesting technology. But in any case, so I noticed people having trouble with getting some traction in the space, and a lot of people, unfortunately, try to get into the aesthetic space and make it their best effort, but yet they fail. And there's a very, hey, Mary Kate, MK, I got to keep it on the down low. They fail in this space, and it's really, really difficult. And the failure rate, unfortunately, is very high. What do I mean by failure rate? What I mean by that is people who are interested in making this their life's work and becoming successful and supporting their family and doing this like for their full-time job. And unfortunately, the number of people who really are successful and sort of survive that and excel is a very small number. And I'm trying my best to make that a higher yield, to make that number better. So, there have been people, like, for example, there was this one nurse practitioner that was taking our courses, and she said to me, she took our introduction to neurotoxin course, and she said, this is the 5th time I've taken an introduction to neurotoxin course, and the other 4 were at other places. I don't know exactly where they were. She said, this is the first time in 5 courses that anyone ever told me what a neurotoxin is and how it works and showed me that. I said, well, how can you talk about a drug or a procedure or anything and not tell you what it is? Like, how can you talk about Botox or any of the neurotoxins and not explain what a neurotoxin is and how it works? I mean, it just doesn't seem like that's even possible. She said, no one ever showed me or told me, and thank God you did. And so it sort of started me thinking about this. And then we started, doing different trainings. We brought in different companies and different trainers. I was watching what my students were doing. And as soon as they were introduced to a new sort of theory or concept or technique in particular, they would immediately sort of latch onto that technique. And I was watching one of them doing the crow's feet, and we sort of put a lot of effort into making sure that they understand they have to be far enough away from the orbital rim so they're not getting any neurotoxin into the orbits, or they interfere with the intraocular muscles and gets diplopia and all that sort of stuff. And they have to be far enough away that they don't hit that zygomaticus major and minor. They have to be at a certain depth. Very draw all our lines where the safety zone is and everything. So it's very well sort of thought out, very well organized. And yet this person immediately started adopting this other person's style who was training them, and it was completely against what we, were training them. And they were putting the zygomaticus major and minor at risk, and they were going too deep and going through the muscle. And we just sort of said, so explain to me what you're doing based upon what you know about the anatomy. And I said, don't you remember the classes you took with us? And she sort of looked at me as like, oh yeah, like I really shouldn't be doing that. I really shouldn't be going that deep, or I really shouldn't be going that low because I could hit the zygomaticus. I said, yeah, so why are you doing that? And she's like, I don't know. I like, well, the reason was like, when you're not completely founded in the basics, like if you don't really have a good understanding of anatomy, or you don't really understand why you're injecting in a certain place or why you're not injecting in a certain place, then when someone comes along and says, well, do it this way, you perhaps think they know more than you. And even though it isn't the right way, maybe it kind of goes against the way you were trained, you somehow figure that you're not good enough or don't know enough or whatever it is. And it's really based on a failure of us as instructors and educators to really make sure you're well grounded in the basics. Because if someone comes along and says, well, do it this way, you say, well, actually that's not a good way to do it, because you're putting the zygomaticus major minor at risk, or you're going through the muscle because the muscle is so superficial when you're in this area. It's attached to the skin. There's no subcutaneous fat, and that part, it's the only part of the body where there's actually muscle directly attached to skin. There's no subcutaneous fat. And so since you know all these things, you have to stand on your principles and say that's not, just because someone shows you something, or someone's an Instagram star and they've got all these followers, whatever it is, doesn't mean they're right. It doesn't mean that they are better than you or know more than you, or that everything we've taught you goes down the drain. It just means that you have to have a better understanding yourself of what you're doing. And that really comes through hard work and watching people who know what they're doing and taking anatomy courses and really studying it. And once you know what you're doing and someone comes along with a technique, they say, that kind of makes sense. It's kind of, observing all the standards that I know have to be done and staying in an area where it's safe. And maybe it's a little bit easier or a little bit harder or whatever. Hey, Wendy, good to see you. But, don't just cave into someone showing you something that they think is, better or sexy or that's trending on whatever social media they're watching, because you're better than that, right? You should be better than that. So once you're well grounded in the basics, you're going to know what's reasonable and what's not reasonable. Because sometimes I watch these videos and I just kind of cringe. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing that. Oh my God, I just can't wait for that occlusion to happen. I can't watch this, and I turn it off because it's scary and frightening to me. And so too should it be to you, because you should know the anatomy well enough to know that is a good thing or not a good thing, and stand up for what you believe in, and just keep learning, right? So that sort of started me thinking, like, so what are we doing in this space that's wrong? Why are so many people failing? Why are so many people making these terrible mistakes? Why are we so influenced by these quote-unquote influencers? Why do we care what they're doing? Why do we care what they're showing us? Why do we care that they can inject behind their back with their eyes closed in the dark? I don't know. Why do we care? I don't care. So I don't think you should care, because you need to get real education, not get educated at YouTube University or Instagram University or wherever the heck it is, because it's propagating sort of bad behavior. It's propagating myths, and it's propagating things that you don't need to do. Just get well-founded. So there are so many ways of failing in this space, right? I mean, most of us are taking courses here, there, and everywhere. It's fragmented. There's no continuous sort of, okay, take course A, then take course B. It's not like a college curriculum where there are prerequisites and you have to kind of, you can't take biology 303 without taking biology 101, right? You kind of sort of have to prove yourself at the lower levels to get to the point where you can take the advanced courses. There's no one who's talking about compliance. There's no sort of basics that are being taught at a level. There's no clear path. There's no one program that can take you from soup to nuts and sort of take you from someone who wants to get into this space to someone who's actually really good in this space and really compliant and really sort of getting all the knowledge. There's people who, for most of us, don't have a lot of business experience, right? There's always money that's at issue. There's always courses that we take that actually take us down the wrong road, right? So I started thinking about this. And I thought to myself, look, we've done a lot in this space, and we've really done our best to wild, wild west out there. That's well put, Sabrina, because you're 100% right. It is the wild, wild west. And you know what happened in the wild, wild west? Most people just shot each other and killed each other, and there really wasn't a lot of progress. So here's my thought. What if we were to develop an educational, my school is Aesthetic Mentor. You're watching Ask the Aesthetic Mentor. I'm Dr. Russo, in case any of you are new to the show. And I took the summer. Hey, Brittany, good to see you guys. And I've been talking with this a lot with Brittany and others who are going to help me. But suppose there was a program, maybe it was even called Aesthetic Mentor or something like that. Maybe there was a school called Aesthetic Mentor that had offices in Boston, just outside of Boston, and in Connecticut, and soon to be other places, which are really exciting. And suppose when you came in, you could become a member of this school, and you could have a sort of path to success, right? So let's say that instead of traveling around the country and taking courses from people you've never heard of, or maybe you've heard of, or whatever, and you have like this nurse who went to 4 other neurotoxin courses before she was ever taught what a neurotoxin is or how it worked. Before you waste all your money and time, suppose you invested your money in yourself and said, okay, I want to be in this aesthetic mentor school. How is that different than everything else? Well, first of all, the number one thing that separates us from everybody else everywhere that I've ever seen is that we have a very, very rich hands-on clinical experience. What does that mean? Well, most of the time if you go to a neurotoxin or filler course, you inject either one patient, half a patient, or 0 patients, right? You have to bring your own model. If you're coming from an out-of-state, you can't even inject. You can watch someone inject. But most of the time you inject 1 patient, maybe you inject 2, maybe you inject your part, pretty poor. So at Aesthetic Mentor, during our Introduction to Neurotoxin class, is actually a 2-day course. The first day, you've done my online didactic. Second day, and then you do that for 4 hours. Then you come in, you get a review, and then you start injecting patients. You're guaranteed to inject at least 4 neurotoxin patients the first day. Some people have done 6 to 8. And on the second day, it's just all injecting. So you're injecting another 6 to 8 patients. So you're injecting minimum 10, 12 patients over those 2 days, right? Tell me any program that comes anywhere close to that. I would like to know about it, honestly. Secondly, you've got 1 instructor training either 1 student or 1 instructor training 2 students. Tell me anywhere that you've ever seen or heard of where that's the case. And you're never injecting a patient, a model, when you're not being observed and the instructor standing right over you like this. And the other student is participating in the assessment and participating in talking about the number of units you'd inject and the strategy and the anatomy and all that sort of stuff, right? So it's very intense and very engaged, right? That's the kind of courses I'm talking about. So what if we were to create a pathway for you? Say, okay, so this is the first course you take. And suppose we had student advisors like Lou and Sigourney saying, okay, this is, the bronze pathway, this is the silver pathway, this is the gold pathway. One's more expensive than the next, but this is all the value you get. And they all include, for example, okay, you take course 1, Introduction to Neurotoxin, you take course 2, Introduction to Dermal Fillers, you take your cadaver course, you take Advanced Neurotoxin, you take, so it's all built in for you, right? It's all built in, all paid for. Do it at your own pace. We advise you and it sort of help you say, hey, listen, it's been a month since your last course. You probably don't want to fall off the horse. You probably want to get right back on and start going again and keep going to improve your education, right? So that would be like sort of one of the most important things is making sure that you have the right sequence of courses at the right timing, right? And then you're invited to as part of this payment, you're invited to a cadaver course. And in fact, not only are you going to the course, but you come in and watch me and Dr. Moray the night before actually dissect the cadaver, right? You're sitting with us dissecting the cadaver and looking at all the muscles, looking at all the nerves, looking at the skin, right? You're part of the team, right? Then you're also offered shadowing because you have to see what good looks like to become good, right? You can't live in a bubble. You can't think you're great unless you sort of understand what great is. So when you go to watch someone who's a skilled injector and you just see the way they handle the patients, you see what their office looks like, you see the way they hold their body, you see the way they, the whole mechanism, then you actually see them inject. You're like, okay, that's what I have to shoot for. That's what good looks like. That's my goal. That's how I become a better injector. Just like any sport, in order to get better, you play with people who are better than you. So you can say, oh, okay, now I see the level I have to ascend to play in that league or that level, right? It's the same with aesthetics. So that's really important. And we're going to have a national conference that is going to be in Las Vegas, not this December, but the following December. It'll be called Aesthetic Mentor, I believe. We're in the process of working out the final details of that now, and you'd be invited to that. You will also be able to get one-on-one trainings, and we just are going to start a new thing where after you've done some of the neurotoxin and filler and cadaver courses, you can actually say, hey, you know what, I really want to get sort of a one-on-one experience, because one of the most difficult things for new injectors is the assessment part. Like, you can train, pretty much anyone how to inject mechanically, technically. Like, this is how you do it. This is how you hold your hand. This is how deep you go. This is how much, you can do that. But really, the beauty and the artistry of our craft is like looking at someone and saying, okay, so like, let's see that face. Let's see them animate. Let's see them, where's the volume loss? Where's this? Where's that? What would your plan be? And so we're going to have one-on-one sessions where we have one student, one instructor, and 3 models. And they're going to inject together. The instructor's going to do some injecting. The student's going to do some injecting, going to do the assessment together. So it's a really rich clinical experience, which I don't know that anyone has. And once you've kind of completed that, you can go back and do more clinical experience. So you basically pay sort of for this. It's like going to college, or you're paying a tuition, but yet within the college experience, you can take different courses, you can take different electives, but there's always someone there guiding you. There's always someone there holding your hand and not letting you fall. And the other big thing is business development courses. Like, how do you expect to? You would love that. Yeah, I would love it too. You're sold. Yeah, like, because I think I figured this out. So I didn't spend all summer drinking pina coladas and being in the pool. I spent a lot of time thinking about this, because it's so frustrating to me when I see people failing, because I know they can do it. I know they want to do it. There's just no way for them to do it with the way education exists in this country for medical aesthetics. So I want to change that. So I want to have this educational experience where there's a clear-cut pathway with advisors along the way. And here's the other thing that I think is really smart. Tell me what you think. So I sign up for this school and I start taking the courses. But you know what? Two weeks ago, I injected that Botox patient. They come back, and I'm seeing something I've never seen before. I don't know what to do. Is there someone I can call? Very new to this, after 4 years of bedside nursing, looking forward to starting courses. Hey, you're looking in the right place. But listen to this. Suppose you had a coach. Suppose you had a personal coach that you had a call with, let's say twice a month for a half an hour. So let's say Wendy Diamond, who's on this call, was your coach. You say, Wendy, I've got 11 questions. And Wendy says, hey, I'm your coach. I'm going to call you to call me every Tuesday night at 7:30 after Aesthetic Mentor's off, because you have to watch Russo. And let's just talk about what your week was like, if you have any problem patients. And if you have an emergency, like if something's, just call me. Like, here's my cell, right? So you have a coach, that's like a guidance counselor almost, in the college space, who's guiding you. You have regular calls. You have people that you can go and watch, shadow them, talk to them, see how their offices are aligned, see how they handle patients, see how they handle complications, really important. How they handle difficult patients, really important. How they hold themselves, really important. Stuff you just can't learn by just listening, watching, Instagram videos or YouTube videos or anything like that. So that's kind of my idea. What do you guys think? I think that will separate us, because I know that people just come, take courses, and then disappear. Their chances of making it are extremely small. A personal trainer helps you become your best. Yeah, because they're dedicated to you. You talk to them, at least twice a month. You get all your questions ready. If you have an emergency, obviously you can call them sooner. But they're there to guide you. They're established. Like, Wendy's been doing this for like 10 years, right, for example. And you would call her, and she would know in a second what to tell you. And she would also help you, maybe with business development and all that sort of stuff. But that's kind of the concept. It's like, here's the path. All these courses are included. You can just dissect the cadaver with Dr. Russo or Dr. Murray. You can attend the cadaver class. You can attend our national meeting. You can retake courses. You can just do more clinical. You can just say, I don't want to take any more course. I just want to inject more patients. So you can just come and to what we call our day 2s, where you just inject. So you can really become, I think it gives you a tentative start date. I'm ready to go tomorrow. With the coaching part, with the one-on-one part. I'm in it. I'm in deep right now, and I'm talking to a lot of people, and we're getting it all. Yeah, I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks. Really, honestly, we have the infrastructure. We have like 30 employees. We have people who are dedicated. We already have like student advisors. We already have like 50 instructors and really experienced people in our network that can really help. So I have all the pieces. I just have to put it together, make sure the finances work for everybody, make sure that the students understand how it's done. We have to work out the kinks, but I'm going to do it. I think we're just going to jump in and do it. And so in addition to that, you come to our national meeting, you get to, be one of the insiders, you get to take all the business development courses, so it's like the world opens up for you. And I would love to shadow and have business develop. Yeah, in Vegas 2023, absolutely. That's kind of what I'm seeing. So I'm looking really to transform the way education is in the aesthetic space is taught. And I really want to make it sort of like you join our club, right? You enroll in our university, right? And we, just like if you were at any other university, you need help, you go to, the TA who's teaching chemistry or whatever it is, and you go to take extra courses, and, you have all that latitude within the curriculum. But you ultimately have what are we? We're mentors. We're aesthetic mentors. So I'm like, well, how are we aesthetic mentors if we're not really mentoring, right? So in order to mentor, you need coaches, and you need curriculum, and you need pathways, and you need, all kinds of things, one-on-ones, where you're like, what? I don't really want anyone else around. I just want to focus one-on-one with my instructor. I want some students and I want some models there. I really want to get my hands wet, because honestly, the reason most people fail is they don't get enough clinical experience. They inject one patient, half a patient, 0 patients, 2 patients, and that's it. Off you go. Enjoy your neurotoxin and fillers for the rest of your life. And if anyone can survive in that, it's really a credit to those of you who've done it. But imagine how much better it would be if you went to a place where they had every course you needed. They had instructors and coaches. I mean, I think to me, that's the biggest contribution I've made, is that I'm hopefully going to make. It's setting everybody up with coaches that are, assigned to them, and that they can call and have a relationship with, and really get to know and understand the space. That to me is going to give people the best chance of success, because even in spite of all that, it's hard. I mean, I don't really joke about this, but I talk about this a lot. I think it takes 5 years to be a really good injector. Always good to have mentors and go-to people. More coming to Connecticut. It will come to Connecticut also. Yeah, whatever happens in Massachusetts will happen in Connecticut. It's the same people. But it's difficult to make it without someone guiding you. In any, imagine going to college and they say, well, just take some courses and, see what you think, and, just go to that. If you don't like that, do that. I don't know, just figure it out. Rather than having someone say, what, I took that course and I don't think the professor is very good, but blah, 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 blah. Go to take this course, take that course, go to this professor. I will help you. I will mentor you. Here's my notes. This is what I did. This is the project. Imagine how helpful that would be if someone can guide you through this path, and then hopefully increase your chance of success. So that's my idea. What do you guys think? I'm just so excited about it. And I guess the reason is I've just seen so many people fail. And the people that make it to the top, as I said, I think it takes, in my own estimation, 5 years, right? In fact, if you're looking to be a trainer, let's say for Allergan, for example, they honestly won't look at you unless you've been injecting for at least 5 years, right? So they understand how difficult it is as well. And they understand how special it is to get to the place where some of the injectors that work with me have gotten to. Because it's like one of those teach yourselves, good luck, hope you make it kind of things. So I want to change all that. Me too. Thanks, Trish. I want to change it so that you're like, okay, I'm really serious about this. I don't want to waste my money. I want to spend money, and I know I'm going to get a good return on my investment, because I know the kind of clinical experience I'm going to get at Aesthetic Mentor. I know the kind of people I'm going to be dealing with at Aesthetic Mentor. I know Russo, and he's been in this space for 31 years, and he's been training people for over 15 years, and he's done 1,000 people. And it's still not good enough for me. I just don't think we're good enough right now. I think we're with the changes I'm going to institute. I think we're going to be amazing, because it fills all the holes where people fall through. Right? There's so many places where people fall through and they never get out of that hole. Right? They start doing family and friends and weekends and this and that, the aunts and the uncles and the moms. that's a pathway for failure. You just can't do that, right? And then they get an occlusion, or they drop a brow, or they do this or that, and they're just like, you know what, I'm done. I can't take it, because they just didn't have a chance, right? They just didn't really have a chance to success. I want learning to be a good Botox injection only. I wouldn't just inject Botox, because you're going to lose those patients, because if they church off filler course, yes, stay away. Do a good cheek injection. Get the cheek fully corrected, and your tear trough 90% of the time will be corrected. And you don't really need to be injecting the tear trough directly, unless you're a really good, really experienced injector, or you've been to aesthetic mentor and you know how to be safe. I wouldn't advise it. So these are the kind of things we talk about. So that's my spiel today, right? So when you're injecting, understand the basic anatomy, and you can learn that through our cadaver courses, or any cadaver course, but we're really focused. There's definitely a disconnect after training. Yeah, that's not really training. The model offers continuous support. Yeah, that's exactly it. Continuous support and development. Support, development, and mentorship. Like, don't do that, do this. And when you're training, right, if you really understand the anatomy, and you're watching somebody from whatever company saying, well, look, let me show you how to inject my neurotoxin because it's so much better than the other ones. Just walk out. Don't even stay there, because number one, don't talk shit about other people's neurotoxins. Don't show people how to inject neurotoxins. You're a rep or a hired hand. You don't even know what you're talking about. So they start showing you things that aren't right, and immediately people, I was watching them, they start doing the wrong thing, even though we've trained them. And I'm just like, so why are you injecting that close to the eye, knowing you're that close to the intraocular muscles? Or why are you injecting that far laterally? Because you got the zygomaticus major and minor there. Why are you going so deep? Because you know the muscle. Oh, I forgot. Well, no, you didn't forget. You didn't trust yourself. You didn't remember the basic reasons why you're injecting in a certain place. And if you don't know why you're injecting in a certain place, or why you're not injecting in a certain place, you shouldn't be injecting. If you don't really understand exactly where you have to inject, if you say, well, that injector is showing me a place that I should, if you don't know whether that's right or wrong, don't do it, right? That's why so many people get in trouble. You see, they're putting something up on Instagram or YouTube or something, and they're saying, do it this way, and then 2 weeks later, the video's down because so many people have been injured and hurt and are upset. That's just an error. That, Larissa, yes, we will offer private training. That's one of the things I was talking about. I think that's critical, actually, and we'll offer private coaching. Will there be a criteria for acceptance? Yes, you have to have a medical degree, a medical license, a nurse, an RN, an NP, a PA, an MD. That's kind of it. We can train anybody, honestly. Some people are better than others, but we can pretty much make almost anyone, not everyone, I have to say. Some people just don't have the hand-eye coordination. Some people just physically can't do it. Some people are shaky. They just can't do it. But pretty much anybody else, we can make you a competent, confident injector that feels really good about being in this space. And I think with these new changes I'm instituting, you'll have a support 24/7, 365. You'll always have someone you can call. And in our network, we have dashboard nurse practitioners. So we have real-time orders. So like if you're working in Wendy Diamond's med spa, or you are Wendy Diamond, who's an RN, and she wants to treat someone with neurotoxin, she takes the patient's data, uploads it to our cloud-based EHR. There's 2 or 3 dashboard nurse practitioners who are sitting there looking at the data. If they know Wendy, and they've known her for a long time, they know whatever she says is pretty good, but they check it just to make sure that she's doing the right dose, the right neurotoxin, the right filler, whatever it is, and they issue the order real time. And I can go on my phone and look at that order, look at the patient. I can do it in a HIPAA-compliant fashion, but it's a real-time order, and it passes all the compliance and all the sniff tests. And Wendy knows that if she tries to inject a patient without an order from a duly authorized prescriber, which is an NP or an MD in Massachusetts, that she's practicing medicine without a license and could lose her license, and the doctor who's involved could also lose theirs, right? So we don't want that. So we know all RNs have to have orders. So we have a real-time nurse practitioner who's sort of always kind of looking over your shoulder, like, hey, you know what? I don't think you should inject volumen to that person's lip. That's just not an indication. Or, gee, that's way too big or way too small a dose of nerve. Whatever the situation might be, there's another sort of level of checking so that we can ensure that we keep our patients safe, our nurses safe, keep everybody in the industry safe, right? And that's what it's all about. And, unfortunately, we're seeing a huge increase in the number of complications because the education has been so bad. What about people who have been taking AM courses? Will tuition and new courses be able to be tailored differently or brand new students? Yeah. Listen, we want to be really fair about this. We don't really, listen, we're a business. We have to make money, right? But we don't care about the money. We care about the education. We care about our experience. We care about our reputation. We care about helping people like you get in the space and stay in the space and be good, right? That's what we care about. I don't know. We haven't even sort of dealt with that idea yet. But if you're already part of them, of course you're going to get preferential treatment. Of course you're going to get reduced pricing. Of course you're going to get all the benefits that we offer because you trusted us a long time ago before we had all these great things. And you stuck with us. So that's really, really valuable and really, really important to us. That's what, listen, no one gets rich on education, right? We're doing this because we love it, because we feel compelled to do it, because we care about the industry, which is being damaged by all these bad complications. Listen, every time there's one of these bad complications and someone gets reported to the Board of Registration of Nursing, the Board of Registration of Medicine, the DPH, the Board of Cosmetology, any of these things, right? These are complaint-based boards, and they are mandated to investigate. And these people come in with the idea of you're guilty until proven innocent, and we have to save all these patients from these terrible providers. You must be a terrible doctor or a terrible nurse if you're having these problems. Well, everyone has complications, right? Everyone, every single person, every single doctor, every single nurse, everyone has complications. Just face it. It's how you deal with them and learn from them that's important, right? So if these boards get all these complications, they start looking at okay, we got to stop nurses from doing this. We got to cut them out. They're not allowed to, this is what's happened in a number of states. There have been many attempts, Massachusetts included, with Dover and Arndt. Years ago, they tried to stop even other doctors from doing it. They said dermatologists should be the only ones doing this, right? So it's a very short fuse from getting all these complaints of them saying, you know what, nurses shouldn't be doing this, NP shouldn't be doing this, whatever the situation is. So we don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want the whole industry to collapse in that way. So that's what this is all about. That's where we're coming from. That's what our goals and our motives are. And I'm kind of pretty much all talked out. Unless someone has a question or a comment, I think you guys seem to like my ideas about the mentorship and the coaches and the one-on-ones and just having everything all sort of paid in advance. Paying your college tuition, you have a whole semester lined up ahead of you, you know exactly where you're going to go. Your guidance counselor's there to help you if you have any questions about which course to take or whatever. So that's going to hopefully increase the yield and increase the number of really good providers because it's hard. It's hard to be good in this space. There's so many variables. There's so many moving targets and there's so many things that can slip through our fingers and it's much, much easier to fail than it is to succeed. But we want to change that. We want to turn that upside down. So anyway, thank you all for listening. Welcome back. I hope you all had a great summer. It's September, which is still a great month, but it's going to get really busy for all of us. And so be prepared. Hopefully we'll see you at Aesthetic Mentor. I'll see you next Tuesday, or actually I'm switching it up a little bit this year. I'm letting some of the other people in my network talk to you because I really want them to get credit. I think everyone's probably getting tired of seeing my face all the time. So I want there to be other faces of Aesthetic Mentor. So I'm having some of the nurses and the NPs and some of the other docs talk to you about their stuff and what they think is really cool and important. Right now I'm going to be on every other week as it stands. So we'll see how that goes. But it's been a real pleasure talking to all of you. I'll see you soon, 2 Tuesdays from now. All right. Have a good week, everyone. Bye.